Hey everybody, welcome to Cornerstone Church. I'm Pastor Jamie. This is Ask, the week leading up to Resurrection Sunday. So we're excited, so let's get to it. So again, welcome to Ask. As usual, we have a lot of questions actually been submitted. A lot. We have a handful, I'd say. It's maybe a better description of it. You can submit your question to CornerstoneBV.org. Again, CornerstoneBV.org, go to the media page and just submit your question. You do not have to leave your name. If we don't get to your question this week, we won't get to all of them. We will eventually get to them. So keep watching, sharing, and all of that. Just keep in mind, too, this week we have services on Thursday night. That's celebrating Maundy Thursday, the Last Supper of Jesus. And so we, together as a church, celebrate the Lord's Supper. So at Cornerstone, 7 p.m., you're invited. And then really awesome service. One of my favorite of the year is Good Friday service, also at 7. That is going to be a candlelight at the end, kind of like Christmas Eve style. Really cool time to just kind of focus on the cross. I know the week gets busy, and people, and I know how it works, and some of you will still do that, even though I'm saying don't do that, because it really helps. Easter Sunday is really tough. It's a great service, but man, there's so many people here, and there's so much going on. It's so helpful to focus during the week at one or both of those services. So if you're going to bring a friend who's not really usually going to church, Friday is definitely, bring them either one, but Friday's a great time to come. We're going to really share the gospel, share the message of the cross, and it's great for everyone, but especially those who maybe aren't familiar with church. It might be a little bit more of an intimate setting than Easter Sunday with all the crowd. So, but we also have our services, Resurrection Sunday, this Sunday at 9 or 11 as normal, so come and join us, bring someone, come early, I'm sure, just to make sure you get a parking spot and a seat. Hopefully we will see you all there. That's enough of this commercial. Let's get to Ask. Okay, here's one of the questions. I'll skip the first part of it. It says, my question is, when one wants to do bad to another, like the bombings happening now. Are there bombings happening now? Yeah, there's a lot of bombings happening now. I'm not really good at current events. I'm scared of current events, to be honest. Why are good people hurt or killed? I understand free choice, but it seems the receiving person has no choice. Well, certainly when bombings happen or school shootings or some of these terrible things, the choice is not the victim. And that's the whole idea of a victim, right? And so it's kind of like, just to step back, this is a classic question of why do bad things happen to good people, right? And why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? There's a couple things with that question. The first is not always the most popular answer, but it's very biblical. You need to understand it. Romans 3:10, Paul writes, as it is written, there is no one righteous or no one good, right? Not even one. Romans 3:23, all have sinned and fall short of God's glory. Okay? Why do I bring those verses up? There is nobody who's good. Okay, now, I totally understand from a relative perspective. I hope anyway, you're going to find I'm pretty good, right? And especially in comparison to a person who might hurt you or might bomb a school or something like that, right? So there's definitely a scale when it comes to human perception. And that's important. We recognize there's certain people I'm going to trust, despite these verses. There's certain people I'm going to trust my kids with. There's certain people my kids aren't going near with a 10-foot pole, right? And so I get the question in that, right? There is good and evil and all of that. But there's more good in some than others. But we have to remember, you're really asking now about God's perspective, not mine or yours. And God's perspective is we are all sinners. Compared to His holy standard, we violate it. There's no one righteous, right? Nobody is good, right? There is, and because I really want to point that out, because that really affects our view on heaven and hell. If you think if someone's just a good person and they're going to rest in peace, they're going to go to heaven because they were a good person, you're wrong. They're not righteous. They're not holy. They will not go to heaven unless they are made righteous. And the only way to be made righteous is through believing in what Christ has done for us on the cross. That's the gospel, right? It's offered to you freely as salvation, but you cannot be good without knowing Christ. So what about the stuff that bad things happen? Why does God allow that? Listen, sin entered the picture, and that when sin entered the picture, now we just got a mess. Okay, so everything that is bad that happens to our environment, natural disasters, the problems of our world, the selfishness, all of the sins that happen to us, around us, that we commit, that's all because sin is like a disease that permeates the human condition. That's why Jesus came, right? So now now we live, we're waiting for him to come back and bring to fulfillment all that is the plan of God, and that is to redeem the earth, redeem the heavens, the earth, redeem man, those who are God's people. And so until then, sin is like a disease, okay? And so bad things are going to happen to you. Right? Why does God allow them to? Because he's allowing, because he's ever patient. His perspective is eternal. So what we see is the most tragic event ever, he has a completely different perspective on. That doesn't mean he loves watching us suffer, okay? But to him, it's very momentary and temporary. And it may be doing something good in someone. And God is working that for the good of those who love him. He's doing something in that we often and sometimes never see, and we have to trust him. He is good. He knows what is good. And so even if you think, wow, that person died in a bombing, that's completely horrible. Well, is it? We don't know. God knows, right? God is sovereign over that, and we have to trust him. Also, God is just incredibly patient. So if he just dealt with sin all at once right now, well, there'd be certain people that haven't trusted in him and would not go to live with him for eternity. And one of those might be someone you love. And so be thankful that God is patient even though we wait for him to return. Okay? Hopefully that helps. Secondly today, Jamie, yes? Sorry, they put that, so with an exclamation point too, by the way. Do you think that when God returns, or even now, so I guess before he returns is what they're asking. Do you think he would change anything in the Bible, such as rules, etc., for Christians to fit everyday society norms? If so, why or why not? Okay, first, the quick answer, no. All right, move on. No, it's a great question, but the answer is definitely no. But let me elaborate a little bit. If you're asking when he returns, will there be differences to our life? Yeah, right? It doesn't mean God's going to be like, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have set that up. But there's certain things that apply to us now that will not apply in eternity, because there's not going to be sin, as we just talked about, evil. There's not going to be any of that, right? So most of the law, the things you read in the Bible, and don't do this, make sure you do this, like we're going to not need any of that, because we're going to be walking in a perfect relationship with God. It's going to be amazing. So we're not going to need to worry about don't lust after. You're not going to do that. So it's going to be great. You're going to have those temptations and sin and all that. So to some degree, sure, when he comes back, there will be differences, but not because he made a mistake the first time around, but because he has fulfilled all of his promises. And so the Bible is still accurate. We are to live a relationship with Christ. It's just going to be perfect and fulfilled at that point. But if you're also, and it sounds like you're also maybe asking in a way here with this question, does God sort of regret, man, maybe I should have given us a little bit more leeway because I didn't quite see how culturally things were going to change and all of that. And we just need to be careful with that. God is a God of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's not surprised by, the Industrial Revolution. He's not surprised by the Renaissance. He's not surprised by the technology age that we're in, the internet and all of social media. Like he wasn't like, wow, Zuckerberg, didn't see that coming, the whole Facebook thing, and none of that surprises God. And so culturally, really you have to understand, just study history. Nothing really has changed. How we go about sinning creatively, sure, changes. Even that, it's still very similar, but the ways it's displayed, we can, view pornography now. Couldn't do that in the 1700s. Lust and peep shows and all kinds of horrible debauchery still happened in the 1700s. Just now we can look on a computer. So it's the same thing. It's just easierly accessed, I suppose. And as an example, right? So adultery happened, murder happened, rape happened, oppression happened, treating the poor unkindly happened. All of that happened. It just, all kinds of horrible things throughout history because of sin. And so God set his standards in the Word, and Christians have always been against the grain. Always. The first 3 centuries of Christianity, we were hunted. They were like, who do you think you are? Like, we were completely different. Same with the Jews. Why do you think everyone's always trying to kill them, right? It's because we live against the grain. This has not changed today. So you as a Christian need to understand, if you live a life biblically, you will stand out. You will be different, okay? Now, keep in mind, usually what I see is people say, oh, it says this in the Bible, doesn't even make sense to us, food laws and things like that. I don't have time to answer all of that, but there are answers, just so you know. But please realize that in the Bible, even in the New Testament, for an instance, I've used this before, when it says greet each other with a holy kiss, right? So see, that doesn't really make sense. If I kiss someone at church, they're probably going to sue me, Depending on where you are, what culture you are, if you go to a different culture, that might be very acceptable to do a kiss on the cheek, or men to kiss each other on the cheek. Like that's culturally acceptable, even in some areas of the United States. In New England, where we are, no, right? Don't kiss me. I don't barely want you to hug me. That's just how we are, right? But we still live by that, by greeting each other warmly. So whatever that means in a culture, a handshake, a smile, an actual genuine, I care to see you, I'm glad I see you. That's how Paul wants us to greet each other. That never changes. Greet each other with a holy kiss made sense in his culture. So there is some of that, but that's obvious. That's not like, wow, we can't change the Bible. It's not changing the Bible. It's the spirit behind it, right? And then there's absolute commands that translate from culture to culture. And so God does not regret how he laid it out for us. He is way smarter than culture, than us. And so it makes it a lot easier, not necessarily, really, and a lot simpler, maybe not easy, a lot simpler to just do what he says. And don't do what he says not to do, because he's God and he understands. Okay? Lastly, this is a little bit longer, so bear with me. It says, okay, now that I wiped the tears from my eyes, laughing so much at the way you torture poor Steve, is it really that bad? Steve says yes. Here are my questions. Is Steve responsible for all the technology at the church? The graphics, the content of all the screens, website has improved so much it really connects. Oh, that's good. I'm glad you're blessed by it. Can you have Steve tell us about himself on Ask? Can Steve put digital bunny ears on you to make up for being so tough on him? Seriously, super job, all involved. Super job for you watching. He's not going to put bunny ears on me. Are there bunny ears on me right now? There better not be bunny ears on me right now. All right, so Steve, why don't you sit here and you tell us about yourself? Go ahead. He doesn't know I'm going to do this, so you got to take his earphones off. Put the bright lights on their earphones. Tell us about yourself.
I don't know what to say.
So now we see why Steve is never in the camera. Do you do all the video editing for the church?
Yes, I do all the video editing for the church.
Do you like doing that?
I do. Why? I enjoy it. It's a gift that God gave me, and it's my passion, so that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot to it, I guess.
Tell us about yourself, Steve. Are you married?
Yes, married, and I have 2 children.
What do you think it's like for your wife to be married to you? I mean, that can't be
just
easy.
A joy every day. Hopefully she's not watching this.
And you have 2 kids, their names?
Yes, Wyatt and Evelyn.
Oh, right. Wyatt Earp and Evelyn. All right. Nice.
Yep.
And so, what else? How old are you?
26.
26. Yep. So, man, look at him. And the beard, like, is that going to stay forever? Or what are we going to...
Yeah, I'm never shaving the beard.
Even if it gets gray and old and all?
Yep, even when it gets gray and old, I'm never shaving it.
So why don't you ever put bunny ears on me?
I haven't honestly thought to do that yet, so... probably do it.
So more people should submit ways of torturing Jamie on camera, right?
Yeah.
You do have final say on editing, right?
Yes, I do. So maybe I'll put some bunny ears on you today.
So why don't you say, to finish us off, this has been Ask. God bless you.
This has been Ask. God bless.